Welcome to Agoracom Small Cap Breaking News, your daily go-to source for the best small cap headlines for over 65 million investors since 2007. Today, we're diving into some really fresh breaking news from the small cap resource world. We've got quite a mix, some potential game changers, I think, stuff like new recycling tech, big mineral finds, and even an acquisition. So the plan is to, cut through the headlines and really focus on the results, the numbers, the potential value that might make you want to look closer.
Absolutely. It's a great snapshot of what's happening right now. You see innovation, you see companies trying to meet that critical mineral demand, and just, well, smart strategic plays. So yeah, let's get into these headlines and see what really jumps out.
Okay, first up, breaking news. Novasium. They're affiliated with HPQ Silicon Resources. That's HPQ on the TSX Venture, the news is. Novasium is presenting a new black dross recycling process down in Houston at Insure 2025. Now, black dross, that stuff's notoriously nasty in aluminum recycling. So what's the key takeaway here for, say, HPQ investors?
Well, the key, I think, is turning let's face it, a big environmental headache into actual value. Their press release talks about this hydrometallurgical process, right? And it's designed not just to detoxify the black dross, but to actually create green hydrogen and a usable solid. Think about that for a second. Waste becomes clean energy and maybe another product they can sell.
Right.
So for HPQ investors, that could mean, recyclers using this tech might see lower disposal costs, maybe new revenue streams from these byproducts. It helps margins, helps the ESG story. It's potentially quite significant.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sort of hitting it from two angles there, cost reduction and new revenue. Yeah.
Okay, top story today. GoldMining Inc. That's TSX, GOLD, and NYSE American, GLDG.
Headline reads, GoldMining Inc. uncovers strategic antimony potential at Crucero Project amid soaring global demand. Mo, and we know they have gold in Peru, quite a bit actually. But this antimony angle, that feels new and, given the market, pretty important, right? What results really stick out?
What's really interesting here is how it sits alongside their existing gold resource. They mention 993,000 ounces of gold indicated, which is substantial. But then they hit these high-grade antimony intercepts. The release flags, 2.79 grams per ton, gold equivalent over 79 meters. And that includes 0.59% antimony. That's quite a kick.
Wow.
And antimony, it's a critical mineral. Demand's way up, supply's tight. So finding this could really sweeten the pot for the Crucero Project's economics. They're already calculating a gold equivalent value using current antimony prices. So for Gold D investors, this potentially adds a whole new dimension, positions them in that critical mineral space.
Right, so it's not just a gold play anymore. That dual commodity potential, especially with a critical mineral, definitely too compelling. All right, let's switch gears. First Atlantic Nickel, FAN on the TSX Venture, breaking headline. First Atlantic Nickel confirms 500-meter wide nickel zone in Newfoundland, advancing strategic critical mineral asset. This big focus here seems to be this scale, 500 meters wide, and maybe a different way to produce nickel. More sustainable, perhaps. What should FAN investors be looking at?
Yeah, the key operational highlight is definitely confirming that incredibly wide zone. They're talking about awaruite mineralization. So drill hole AN2404, for example, gave them 366 meters, grading 0.23% nickel and 0.31% chromium. That's a huge intercept.
366 meters, wow.
And the thing about awaruite is that it's a nickel-iron alloy, but it's sulfur-free. That potentially opens the door to using magnetic separation for processing, maybe avoiding traditional smelting, which is, very energy intensive and has higher emissions.
Oh, okay. So lower costs, potentially lower emissions.
That's the potential upside, exactly. A large-scale project, possibly greener, in a good jurisdiction like Newfoundland, ticks a lot of boxes for the battery metal supply chain. And they also mentioned that all their drill holes so far started and ended in this mineralization, so the scale could be really significant.
Definitely one to watch for those interested in, green or nickel. Okay, next. Maritime Resources, MAE, on the TSX Venture. Breaking news. Maritime Resources hits high-grade gold in Newfoundland, reinforces hammer-down development potential. Newfoundland's busy. What are the numbers that pop out for MAE?
Well, the headline grabber is definitely the high-grade gold intercepts, really high-grade. They reported 49.4 grams per ton gold over 2.6 meters. That was at the Rimbolian zone. And inside that, there was an even richer section, 153.9 grams per ton over 0.6 meters.
Whoa, 153.9 grams. That's massive.
It really is. And finding these grades near surface obviously helps build confidence in the hammer-down project's economics. Plus, they also mentioned finding decent gold, 5.1 grams per ton over almost 12 meters in some old backfilled stope material.
Oh, interesting. Like reprocessing old stuff.
Potentially. It could offer a quicker, lower cost way to get some material processed, maybe even kickstart things. So for MAE investors, it shows the deposit keeps delivering high grades. And there might be smart ways to utilize the resource, even previously mined areas.
Okay. Yeah, those grades definitely catch the eye.
Yeah.
Now, shifting to some M&A activity, Sierra Metals, SMT on the TSX, the headline, Sierra Metals to be acquired in all-cash deal by Alpayana. All-cash deals are usually pretty straightforward for shareholders in terms of the immediate outcome. What's the core message for SMT holders?
Absolutely. It's quite clear. The headline really says it. $15 per share, all cash. So for shareholders, the main takeaway is that potential payout, that certainty of value at $1.15. And the fact that the board is unanimously backing it and they got a fairness opinion, well, that suggests they think it's a fair deal for the shareholder. For the wider market, seeing a copper and precious metals producer, with mines in Peru and Mexico getting picked up by a private Peruvian group, it just underlines that continued interest in established mining assets, especially in reasonably stable places.
A clear financial outcome proposed for Sierra shareholders then. Okay, one more. Lancaster Resources. They trade as LCR on the CSE. Breaking news. Lancaster Resources makes strategic move into Australia's gold sector with new acquisition in prolific Cobar district. Moving into Australia, into gold. Sounds like a pretty big strategic step for LCR. What makes this particular acquisition interesting from a results perspective?
Well, it gets them into a really well-known prolific gold district in Australia, Cobar. They've acquired the Lake Cargelgo Gold Project. It's a big land package, over 28,000 hectares. And it comes with some pretty eye-catching historical results. We're talking rock chips up to 204 grams per ton gold.
204 grams, wow.
Yeah, and channel samples like 16 meters, grading 5.83 grams per ton gold. Pretty compelling historical stuff. The release also notes the acquisition cost was low, suggesting, good potential leverage if their upcoming fieldwork confirms or expands on those historical numbers.
So good historical grades, big land package, low entry cost.
That seems to be the story. For LCR investors, it's diversification into a top-tier mining country with what looks like significant exploration upside and a proven gold region.
Okay, great. So let's just quickly put that all together for you listening. We had Novasium, that's HPQ, with that innovative black dross recycling potentially making green hydrogen. Then GoldMining hitting valuable antimony alongside their gold, tapping into that critical minerals demand. First Atlantic Nickel, FAN, confirming a huge nickel zone, possibly processable with lower emissions. Maritime Resources, MAE, reporting stellar high-grade gold near surface in Newfoundland. Sierra Metals, SMT, getting an all-cash buyout offer. And finally, Lancaster Resources, LCR, making a strategic move to Australian gold with some high-grade historical results.
Exactly. Each piece of news we covered has some concrete financial or, operational results that suggest real potential. Definitely could be worth a deeper look for anyone active in the small cap resource sector.
Right. And maybe that brings us to a final thought for you to consider.
Yeah.
Think about how these specific company stories kind of echo bigger trends, don't they? You've got this push for resource efficiency, like with Novasium, the huge strategic focus on critical minerals, like with GoldMining and First Atlantic Nickel. And, well, gold's enduring appeal, shown by Maritime and Lancaster's news.
Precisely. It's not just about individual companies in isolation. These could be signals of broader shifts in how we find, develop, and value resources. Understanding that context might help frame how you look at these kinds of opportunities moving forward.